فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So inshallah, we've been hitting the marfu'at, and now you guys have had time to memorize all the marfu'at al-asma. What makes an ism marfu'? So, Abdurrahman, since I know you know them, what are they? Marfu'at.
مبتدا خبر فاعل نائب عن الفاعل اسم خبر اسم كان and خبر إن.
Excellent. These are the 6 things in Nahu, in the Arabic grammar, that can make an ism into being in a state of rafa, of being marfu'. So, I want you guys to memorize these. The 6 marfu'at, 11 mansubat, 2 majrurat, and 4 tawabi'. Inshallah, when you guys memorize these, they'll be in your head. Like for what we used to have to do, you had to memorize the line from Alfiya, the poem, and then once you memorize it, then you go home and then you hit the homework and you check the Qur'an and then you do the practices and it kind of sinks. So now that you guys have all inshallah memorized the marfu'at, I want to hit some of them. Now mubtada and khabar, we've hit it pretty hard. I think everybody understands that, right?
Yes.
Right? So then you have fa'il and fi'il. Fi'il is your action, fa'il is marfu'. We already hit that pretty hard and that was your homework, so you all got that, right?
Yes.
Right? So we're going to hit a little bit of na'ib anil fa'il again, even though we've hit that, but I want you guys to get into good practice with it. And we're going to hit a little bit about inna and kana, because that's going to take care of 2 of the marfu'at and 2 of the mansubat. So, the first thing, I have some ayat here that I pre-wrote, and I'm going to have you guys make i'rab of them. And this is pretty advanced. For you guys at the beginning level Arabic class, for you to be able to make i'rab of ayat, shows that you're, mashallah, doing really well. So, Abdul Qadir, since you're hafiz of Qur'an, and you're our shaykh and our leader, Tayyib, read to me this ayah up to here.
From the beginning?
Yes.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها.
Tayyib. Now, from my more advanced students, let's start doing some i'rab. If this is the harf, we can leave this for now. Zulzilat. What is this?
It's a fi'l.
It's fi'l. Everybody agree? Any khilaf bain al-ulama? We have ijma' here. Tayyib. What does it mean?
Shake.
Shake. Zilzal, like zalzal, to have a zalzala, a shaking. So when shakes, what? Al-ard. So what is this now?
فاعل.
Fa'il?
مفعول به.
Maf'ul bihi or fa'il?
مفعول به something that's being affected.
Our advanced students, who's here? Maf'ul bihi?
مفعول به.
Who says fa'il? Raise your hands.
What are you asking?
What is the i'rab of ardu?
This is
I have some khilaf bain al-ulama. Now we have Basriyin and Kufiyin here. Go ahead.
فاعل.
Fa'il. Okay, Abdurrahman says fa'il. Tayyib. Keep going. Zilzal. What is this? Ha is a damir. We discussed damir, so we'll leave that for now.
مفعول مطلق.
Excellent. Maf'ul mutlaq, which we did a little bit of, we'll do more of.
What's مطلق by any chance?
Mutlaq, يعني complete. Like mutlaq, like if I said, do you mean this partially or mutlaqan? Right? So this is to show emphasis. Maf'ul mutlaq, we haven't done it yet. We're going to do it in mansubat. But maf'ul mutlaq, I introduced it a little bit in the last dars, where you're just showing emphasis. Daraba darban. Tayyib? Daraba means to hit. Darban is to repeat the same thing, but to say that he really. Daraba Uthmanu Zaydan darban. Like Uthman beat up Zayd really bad. That's why Zayd doesn't come to class anymore. Tayyib? So, what is zilzal here? We've already said zalzalat, right? But zilzal, to show it's a great shaking. It's not just like a little tremor it is like the day of judgment shaking. So this is why this is something that you use a lot in the Qur'an to show a beauty in the speech and elegance in speaking. Now, so this is your fi'l, this is your fa'il, this is your maf'ul mutlaq, this is your damir. Everybody agree on this or no? We had some khilaf. I think Abdurrahman has fa'il, but we have some brothers saying maf'ul bihi. So we have some khilaf bain al-ulama here. طيب تفضلوا, our judge, which one is right?
منزلة بين المنزلتين.
لا خطأ.
هو نائب فاعل.
نائب عن الفاعل, هذا هو
أنا أقول
الصحيح.
لك منزلة بين المنزلتين بين الفاعل
صح.
والمفعول به.
طيب ما شاء الله أحسنت. طيب, this is مفعول به. It's not fa'il, and you should have known that. Why? First thing, it's not زلزلت, it's زلزلت. We discussed this before. When you have the fi'l in that form, you know the fa'il is going to be hatf, right? And what are you going to have? You're going to have the maf'ul bihi. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shaking the earth. It's not the earth by itself doing it, right? So this is na'ib an al-fa'il. Na'ib al-fa'il. In actuality, it is maf'ul bihi. It should be mansoob, but it's marfu' because we don't have to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that ordered it. And this doesn't show a weakness, this shows a strength, no matter what Hamza Yusuf said. So, when you have the fa'il not mentioned, it's because of the elegance of speech. So, if you know that I teach this dars every time, nobody else can ever teach it, if, it's not true, but if, then you don't have to say, Uthman taught in the Nahu class. You can say, you know what we learned in the Nahu class? You don't have to mention Uthman, because it's redundant. So, who can order the earth to shake like this? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll give you, inshallah, more examples of that coming up, but this should be understood. Tayyib, let's keep going. Wa, at, we'll leave this for now. Ahruf we haven't done. Akhrajat. Fair?
Yes.
Everybody agree? Any disagreements?
Like in what form the verb? The first verb is
It's madin. Yani this is
Madi?
madi.
in the passive form.
In the passive form, in the past
In
tense.
the past tense.
Yes.
That's what, like every verb that is in the passive form, the naib fa'il comes.
Excellent. Alright, you're getting advanced. Take it easy. We'll call on you when we need advanced brothers. Go ahead. Tayyib. So this is your fi'l, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. What is akhrajat?
To bring down.
To take out, to bring something out.
To exit.
Tayyib, to, right? Okay. Now, ardu, again, what is this?
نائب عن
Na'ib an
So that
al-fa'il.
means the fa'il is hidden.
Fa'il is hidden?
Okay.
Any khilaf on this? Everybody good with this?
So we knew that the first time was na'ib an al-fa'il because the what?
Oh. Go ahead.
Because the
Yes.
zulzi, right?
Yes.
Because the dhamma than the kasra, but this
Excellent.
one doesn't have the same.
It doesn't.
So how would I know? Because it looks like to me it's fa'il again.
You just figured out how you would know. It is 5. It's not na'ib an al-fa'il.
There you go then.
You just made up for your earlier mistake.
You knew when you were teaching.
See, so here, this is not na'ib an al-fa'il. And I used the rest of this ayah because I knew you brothers would be like, yeah, I got this. Everything is na'ib an al-fa'il. No, take it easy, alright? Here, you notice that the format is not passive. It's not ukhrijat, it is akhraja. Akhrajat, yani, this is the regular madi sense. So here, al-ardu is the fa'il, not the na'ib an al-fa'il. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one shaking the earth. His order shakes the earth. But the earth is the one that's taking out. What is the اخواتها, yani what is heavy in it, the people, all that. We'll get into tafsir. But, tayyib. So here, inshallah we'll leave these, but this is also maf'ul. This is your maf'ul bihi. طيب. This here.
What's the meaning of atqala?
Literally, it's weight, like what it was holding, right? In the bab of tafsir, we can get into which is all of what the graves and the people that were in the graves, they'll be brought out, deeds, all kinds of depth. But literally, you know, what is taqil, yani what's heavy, what was burdening it. Tayyib. So here, now we find a naib and al-fa'il and a fa'il, and the way we knew, two ways we knew. One way we knew was the format that the fi'l was in, and that you could have seen even if you didn't know Arabic. Second thing is by the meaning. You understand that the earth doesn't order itself to shake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who shakes the earth. But the earth, with the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the earth itself is the one that brings things out. So you have na'ib and al-fa'il and you have fa'il, and looking at the way the fi'il is will explain this. And this is a very beautiful thing to understand in tafsir. Because if you kind of study nahu a little bit, you would have all thought that if this is na'ib and al-fa'il, this is na'ib and al-fa'il. But if you understand nahu well, and you look for the signs that you're learning, then as mashallah Abdul Rahman did, you will figure it out. Tayyib. Next, easy one. We'll give this to Hamza.
Is this خلق الإنسان
Tayyib. Khuliqa. What is this?
made? Created?
Created. What is it though?
It's a fi'l, yeah.
Fi'l. Excellent. Insanu. What is this?
Fa'il.
Fa'il. And da'ifa. This is hal. We haven't studied hal yet, but it's a condition. So, if we were to take the Arab that you gave me, it would mean that insan created itself weak.
No.
No? You sure?
No, this is
Ah. Naib and al-fa'il. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created insan, insan didn't create himself.
Right.
But we didn't have to say khalaqa Allahu insana da'ifan. Why?
Because we know.
Because we know. So here, what should have given it away was khuliqa, not khalaqa. So when you have the passive form here being used, then you know that the fa'il will not be mentioned. This will be your na'ib of fa'il, and then da'ifa is the hal. What condition? There is tam'iz, there is hal, there is a lot of other mansubat we'll get into. Tayyib. Easy one. Yusuf. Read it for us.
كتب عليكم الصيام.
Tayyib. Kutiba, now, you look at the format, right? It's not kataba, it's kutiba, right? Alaykum is jar majroor, so this will leave. Siyamu, we have ordained the fasting, right? So now, kutiba is your fi'l, siyamu, fasting, what is this?
نعم الفاعل.
Excellent. Naib, fa'il, because who is the one that ordained it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we didn't have to say kataba Allahu alaykum as-siyama. Why? Because nobody else has the authority to ordain something upon us except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who can give us laws and sharia? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained, He made it fard, farada, kutiba, yani furida, as the tafsir mentioned, that it made obligatory upon you, meaning upon us, the fasting. Fasting didn't make itself obligatory. This is the naib and al-fa'il, which would have been maf'ul bihi. It is taking the form of the fa'il here. Tayyib?
So when the fi'l is in past tense, will the fa'il always be hidden? Or will
No.
it most likely be hidden?
So here, akhrajat is also past tense. If I said daraba, this is past tense, I will have to mention the fa'il.
Oh, okay.
But if I said duriba,
Oh, there's two types.
that's two types in past. So we're only dealing with past tense right now. Mostly we've been dealing with madi only. We'll get to mudari and stuff later. Tayyib. So this is naib and al-fa'il, And it is something beautiful, like in the way the Qur'an works, in the way the Qur'an is understood. And we should understand that, so we know that insan didn't create itself, fasting didn't obligate itself upon us, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if the fa'il, if the one giving the hukm is not mentioned, it doesn't mean there is a weakness. Actually, it shows a strength, right? If you say qila, that's a different issue. Like if you say it was said, right? That's a different issue because you don't know. It could have been anyone that said it. But when you say kutiba or khuliqa, then you're saying it in a way where the listener has to know who the fa'il was. If we didn't know who the fa'il was, this wouldn't make sense in Arabic. Like you couldn't use this tense. It has to only be used when you know the person listening or reading understands who the fa'il is. And here we have no doubt. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that ordained the fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that created the insan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that makes the earth shake. So here we have no doubt. And that's why there is no reason to mention the fa'il. Tayyib.
So, Shaykh, alaykum, would that be maf'ul bi, alaykum, kumu?
Alaykumu, this is jar and majroor, and kum is a damir, and damair actually don't take i'rab. Like even though we see fihi, but anhu, like you don't see anhi. So damair are a little bit independent, and we'll get into damair and how they change later. But this is jar majroor. This would also be in the place of maf'ul bi, right? But because ala is from huruf al-jar, and this is a damir in the place of being majroor. Tayyib. Tayyib. So we discussed another thing which is kana and inna. Right? Yes. Kana and inna. We discussed it in great depth. And there is kana wa akhwatiha and its sisters. And inna wa akhwatiha and inna and his sisters. But who are the akhwat? Most people don't know. Like everybody says kana has sisters and inna has sisters. But if you ask them, can you list them or do you know them? People don't know. And I want to start with some. There are some that I'm purposely leaving out because of khilaf and issues. And inshallah maybe later we'll get into more. But I'm going to go over a few of them, and I'm going to go over actual examples in the Qur'an for some of them. And I want you guys, inshallah, to write these down, and then later you can even take pictures or whatever or watch the video. But I want you to try to learn these as best you can. Like for us, we would have to memorize the line in Alfiya or whatever, so then you knew them, no doubt. But here, because you're not memorizing a matan or a poem, then at least you should try to write these and memorize these. And what you can do is, what I used to do, is when you have nothing to do, just sit down, start making lists. Start making graphs. Start making a graph of the marfu'at. Start just thinking, okay, what were the akhwat of kana that I learned? And write out as many as you can. And then when you go home or when you get your notes, then see which ones you missed and go over them again. Because as you get better at knowing these by heart, your understanding of the Qur'an, your understanding of ahadith, your grasp on the Arabic language will improve, inshallah. Tayyib. So kana, and as I said, kana has, all of these words have multiple meanings. All of these words have depth. All of them are used in places sometimes with different meanings. But I'm going to give you the base, simple meanings, and inshallah we'll expand from there. So kana can mean was, it can mean be, or it can mean it continuously did something, like something was continuous. It has this meaning. But we'll take was and be as a meaning of kana. Tayyib? Was is the usual translation for kana. So when we look at in the Qur'an, kana nasu ummatan wahidatan. Tayyib. So this ayah here, let's make i'rab of it. Yalla ahbab. Dursa. Since you're the advanced students at silent. Kana, tayyib, this is kana, the ha. And kana is not a harf. It's actually a fi'l. It's fi'l naqis, which we'll discuss later. But this is actually a action, in a verb in the Arabic language. But it's not a complete verb. It's called fi'l naqis. We'll discuss that later. But tayyib, we have kana. What is the i'rab of nasu ummatan? We'll leave wahidatan because you guys haven't done that a lot. But anyway.
Weren't you asking Dursa?
Dursa, where you at, bro? كان الناس أمة واحدة.
Yes, مبتدا.
Okay, excellent. So this is your mubtada. And this is also the ism of kana. And then umma is what? It's khabar. But khabar is marfu'. I see this being mansoob. Why is that?
Oh,
What? Khabar kana, yes, excellent. And khabar kana is mansoob. Tayyib. Now, this is your ism of kana, and this is your khabar of kana. Tayyib. Wahidatan, yani this is the sifa or explanation about ummah, but that's nothing with dars today, but you guys should know it anyway. Tayyib. One of the ikhwat, one of the sisters.
And how come over there zilzala is maf'ul mutlaq, but athqalaha is maf'ul bihi?
Tayyib. Because maf'ul mutlaq comes from the fi'l.
Okay.
Tayyib. Now here, athqalaha is not telling you an emphasis on just kharajat. It's actually telling you what was brought out. It has a separate meaning.
Okay.
But zalzal here, what other meaning can it give? We already said zalzalat or zulzilat in this sense, right? So here, this is only to show an emphasis of this. But this is here not to emphasize akhrajat, but rather to give you news of what was taken out, right? And if it's being taken out, it's being done too. It is the maf'ul. Excellent. Maf'ul mutlaq is only for emphasis. If I said Duriba Uthmanu Zaydan Darban, if I said Duriba already, beat already, then Darban has no additional meaning except to show that it was a really bad beating. And if it's Uthman, then I don't even have to say that, but maybe you don't know me, that's why. So, but if I said Duriba Uthmanu Zaydan Bilyadi, yani Uthman hit Zayd with his hand. Now, Biyadi now is a different issue. It's not to tell you how bad, it's more to tell you that what was used. You know what I'm saying? Tayyib. Wa iyyakum. Laysa. What does laysa mean?
it's like a negation.
Laysa is the opposite of kana. Tayyib? So laysa is it was not, or not to be, or it wasn't. However you want to translate it, right? It's going to be the opposite of kana in one sense. Tayyib? Now, when we look at the Qur'an, we find a lot of examples of laysa, but I'll give you one here. Actually, I'll give you kana and laysa here, inshallah. Tayyib. Abdul Rahim, go for it. Wow is a harf, we'll leave that. Kana is kana. فعل ناقص. طيب.
الله مبتدا.
طيب. And this is also the ism of kana. Excellent. غفورا رحيما.
خبر كان.
خبر, but this is mansoob. You're right.
It's mansoob.
Because
it's
khabar kana.
It's khabar kana.
Excellent. You were right. I was just emphasizing your rightness. Okay? So that's the issue. That it is mansoob. But that's because the khabar of kana is mansoob. It's from the mansoobat. Tayyib? Now, laysa. Tayyib? What is laysa? Tayyib? Laysa is from the ikhwat of kana, from the sisters of kana. Not, is not, or we'll use is not here. Al-Zakru kal-Untha. What are these?
Calf?
This?
No, the second one. Is that calf or ayn?
That
This?
looks like an ain kind of.
This obviously is a calf, but I guess if somebody hasn't cleaned their glasses, I can clarify that.
Hey, I could see it's a calf.
Tayyib. So, I'rab, please.
It's a fi'l.
This is fi'l naqis. طيب. It's from the ikhwat of kana. Keep going.
مبتدا.
This is your mubtada.
اسم كان.
Does ذكره means male?
Yes.
Okay. مبتدا.
This is the ism of laysa.
اسم ليس.
Yes. Because laysa.
Because
Male.
ليس.
Yeah.
Male.
طيب.
Male, female.
حرف جر.
Excellent. Jar.
ليس here isn't it معطوف?
لا. معطوف on what?
So this is it should be there as well before later, right? No? وليس
لا. There is wow, but what's it ma'tuf on? Wow doesn't always bring something as atf.
تعطف ما بعدها, right? ما قبلها.
لا لكن هنا ليس الشيء قبلها فيها يعني ربط هنا.
Okay.
ليس هنا it's by itself.
By itself, okay.
Only when something that's ma'tuf is when something comes forward that doesn't have its own i'rab, it has to reach back to something. طيب? And wow, there are many. There is wow al-atf, wow al-ma'iyya, there is wow al-qasam, so many. We'll go over them inshallah. Here laysa is a standalone. It is from the ikhwat of kana. Al-dhakru is the mubtada, which is the ism of laysa. And kal-untha, this is jar majroor. In the place of the khabar, right? Now, why did this not have a kasra? Because of the alif maqsura, which we said, it doesn't take Arab, like Musa, Isa, Untha. What does it mean? That the male is not like the female. And this is actually from Surah Maryam, where we discussed about Maryam alayhi salam and how her mother had, dedicated her to worship, but then turned out to be a girl. He was expecting her to be a boy. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has accepted her. And here, this is actually praising women in this ayah, actually, because it's telling you, like if we say, we all wrestle, but Uthman can't wrestle like Abdurrahim. It's actually praising what comes second. Like Uthman's not like Abdurrahim in wrestling. You're good in wrestling, right? Alright. And I'm just giving you a pass, alright? Don't get too happy about it. So here, this is how laysa is used in the Qur'an. Faddal Abdurrahman.
So is this khabar shibhi jumla?
This is shibhi jumla, yes. Because jar, majroor will be there as a shibhi jumla. Tayyib. So these are some examples of kana and laysa. We'll do some more inna later inshallah. But then there is sara. Sara, to become or to reach something. Tayyib. Many of these will have the meaning of becoming and reaching. And there are slight differences between all of them, which I'm not really going to get into right now. But understand that sara is from the ikhwat of kana. It makes its mubtada marfu', makes its khabar mansoob, and has the meaning of either reaching something or becoming something. Like sara aliman, like he became an alim. You can say, or he reached the level of ilm. You can use that in those sense. Tayyib? Asbaha. Asbaha, to reach the morning, to get to the morning. When you reach the morning time from the night. And this is also used as became. You can also use it interchangeably with sara in some senses, but there is a difference, which is that asbaha also has a meaning of reaching the morning, which sara does not. And when you get into, like we used to have to study Alfiya ibn Malik with the Sharh of Ibn Aqil. And the Sharh of Ibn Aqil, it has a lot of poems. And this is the ash'ar or the poems of Jahiliyyah of the time before Islam. Because Arabi was actually at its peak in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and before that, after the acceptance of Islam, for about 200 years there's still some solid Arabi, and after that it got all messed up because many Ajam became Muslim and they started speaking, and the Arab actually started intermingling with non-Arabs, and their Arabi became weak. So in the time of Jahiliyyah, the Arab were kind of isolated. So their Arabic was very strong. And it was kind of not necessarily a good thing because they were just kind of in deserts by themselves and nobody really wanted to even rule over them. But in a way it was good because it kept their language together. Now, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved the Arabic language to the Qur'an. No language is preserved like Arabic. Because there is one book that you can always go back to and end any argument and differences, which is the Qur'an. No other language has that. Like if you talk about Urdu or Pashto or English or Latin, you cannot point to one single book and say this Shakespearean novel is the essence of all of English. We don't have it, right? But Arabic does. So here, if you look at some of the earlier poets, they would use these with different meanings in the same poem to show a deeper meaning. And it's very interesting because many times it's what we call majazan, like not haqiqatan, where they would talk about reaching the morning but not necessarily actually reaching the morning. And then they would use Sara and Asbaha and other things to show reaching something but in a beautiful speech. So inshallah, if we get advanced enough, we'll start getting into some of these ash'ar inshallah. Tayyib. Amsaha. Amsa yani to reach the evening, or same became also has a meaning. Adha also with the meaning of reaching the afternoon or the forenoon, and also with the meaning of became. Dalla became. Bata can also be used for became, but it's also used for spending the night. Bata yani somebody who spent the night somewhere. As I said, these are some of the base simple meanings for these words. As we see them being used in the Qur'an or in poetry or in ahadith, sometimes the meaning will slightly change. Like laysa here is not, or kana here is that Allah is continuously, not was. But if I said kana Abdul Rahim fi Islamabad, like Abdul Rahim was in Islamabad, I don't mean that he's still there, but I can still use kana in the same way. So it can be used in two different senses. And many words in English are like that too, but we'll get into those later. Tayyib. So these are kana and the ikhwat of kana that you should all memorize, inshallah ta'ala. Write them down, go over them, memorize them, learn them, inshallah. If you run into them in the Qur'an, try to mark the place and think about the ayah so you can get familiar with them. Now, the other side of that is inna. Inna and its ikhwat are also the ones that affect the ism, which is the mubtada and the khabar. So, what is inna, which is used repeatedly in the Quran, very common in the Quran. Inna is all over the Quran. We can say verily, we can say indeed, we can say surely, like there's many words in English. And unfortunately in English, as far as I know, maybe somebody who's like an English major can correct me, a lot of these words really don't have much of a difference. Like if you said indeed, or surely, or verily, they're all pretty much giving the same amount of emphasis. But in the Arabic language, there's a hierarchy. So if you look at innama, this is from the top. Or if you have la and illa, or ma illa, yani nafi and then ithbat, that is the top level of emphasis. Or in awzan, af'ala, the top level. But you have inna, you have, for example, qad, you have laqad, you have lam, all of those are for tawqeed, but there is a hierarchy, where innama, so husr, this is going to be the top, and inshallah we'll study that later. Tayyib. So inna, indeed, or verily, or whatever, it has no meaning by itself. It's only for emphasis, or tawqeedan, yani. If you just said inna, it would mean nothing. But if you said, for example, in the Quran here, inna Allaha ghafurun rahim. Tayyib. So here, let's make an i'rab of this. Inna is inna from the ikhwat of inna. Tayyib. Allah, the ismul jalala. Here, it is a jumla ismiya. Excellent. This is the mubtada. And it is the ism inna. Excellent. And that is why it's mansoob. Otherwise I could write mubtada. It's mansoob. Should be marfu'. Yes, but look before it. Right? Now, Ghafoor and Rahim is the khabar of inna. And the khabar of inna is marfu'. So that's why it's marfu'. Tayyib. So here, and what does the ayah mean? Musa.
Inna Allah, so verily Allah is Ghafoor Rahim.
You can read. Excellent. Verily Allah is Ghafoor, the most
The
forgiving,
most forgiving and the most merciful.
the most or specifically merciful. Excellent. طيب. إن الله على كل شيء قدير. What does this mean here?
The meaning?
Meaning and Arab.
So Arab is the same.
Inna.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mubtada.
على كل upon
Every
everything. This is
thing.
jar majroor.
Yeah.
شيء is mudaf ilayh. Qadir. What is this?
Competent.
All able.
Excellent. But what's the Arab of it?
Khabar. Khabar in.
Khabar inna. This here all has nothing to. This is your mubtada. This is your khabar. This is just giving you additional information. So verily, or indeed, Allah is qadir, is able, or qadir, which is even more than qadir. It's a mubalagha upon everything. Ala, upon kulli, every shay thing. Qadir, this is from saying that He is able. Allah is more powerful. Allah is more able than anybody else. Nobody is able to do everything except Allah. And upon everything, Allah's qadar, Allah's hukam, Allah's order, it is overpowering. Right? Beautiful ayah, beautiful meaning. Tayyib. Now, there is also, well, let's do some more. We have some more. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ Go ahead. لَكُنُودٌ. What does it mean? What is the Arab? Where's Harun?
إن is جملة اسمية.
طيب. Excellent.
الإنسان is the مبتدأ.
طيب.
It is
Wait a minute. If this is the mubtada, why is it mansoob?
because of the inna.
Excellent, because the ism inna. طيب. Li is
For.
to or for. Rabbi, jar, majroor. He is a damir pointing back to the insan.
The
طيب.
kunud is the khabar.
There is your khabar. La kunud, what does it mean? Lam is for emphasis. Kanud, ungrateful.
Oh. Ungrateful mankind.
So, verily or indeed, mankind is ungrateful to their Lord. Right? It's true. Look at all the bounties we have from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, those of you who are a little bit more advanced, look at the amount of emphasis we have here. Right? You have inna, but then that's not all. You also have the lam here. This lam here is also for emphasis, to show an additional emphasis. Now, verily, mankind is ungrateful towards their Lord. You know, the sentence structure is different in Arabic and in English. So, we can always keep that in mind. So when you make sentences, don't think in English. Think in Arabic. You know, put the fi'l first. You know, put everything in order. Tayyib. There is then anna, which is also used for emphasis sometimes. An is also used, but it's also used here for that. Tayyib. La'alla. So that. La'alla, or because, you could even say, right? Lakinna. Lakinna, but. You can say, it was going to be like this. Lakinna, but it went this way. Ka'anna, as if. Ka'anna, as if. As if they were this way. Laytha, layta, wish. Ya laythani kuntu turaba, as you find in the Qur'an. Layta, to show, I wish something. So these are some of, and there are a couple more that I've left out for now. These are some of the ikhwat of inna that you should memorize. Tayyib? Write this down, take pictures, go over it, memorize it. Tayyib. Let's do one more ayah, and then inshallah we'll give the beautiful homework that you guys are going to have, and then we'll stop. Tayyib. Let's make Arab here. Yalla, who should we get? Okay, Abdul Qadir, let's try it. Inna. طيب. موعدة. موعد. Hum is a damir. الصبح. And then in the same ayah, look at how beautiful, the same connected area, you say a laysa. So you see inna and laysa together. And that's why I really like this from a linguistic perspective, because we're discussing kana and ikhwat, which has laysa and inna, and this ayah has both, and it shows the effect of both here. Nice, huh? طيب. So inna, indeed, it's used for inna. موعد
خبر إن
خبر إن طيب اسم إن. And that's why it's mansoob, because the ism inna is mansoob. هم is الضمير الصبح خبر inna, and خبر inna is marfu, so that is correct. And what did it tell you? Indeed, their appointed time, or their appointment, or their time where whatever was going to be done is a subh, is the morning. You get it?
Yeah.
And then what does it say? A is istifham. Huruf al-istifham we will do to try to ask a question. When you say ahada kitab, or you say antum min Jazair, is a way to ask a question. Hal is also used. Hal hada baytun, whatever you want to say. Tayyib. But a is to ask. And then laysa isn't. Isn't it? It's a question being asked. As-subh, the morning, biqaribin, is very close. Subhanallah. Look at there, and this is a very deep ayah if you look at the tafsir. Even if you look at the Day of Judgment, no matter how long it takes, it's close. That's why I say in Arabi, kullu shay ya'ti wa qarib. And anything that comes is close. And if you look at the time you have in dunya, or the appointed time that Allah gives, it's very little. So don't get lost in yourself. Don't get lost in your desires. Don't get lost in your pride. Don't get lost thinking that, oh, who cares? Day of Judgment, death, whatever, I don't have to do that. It's close. No matter how, it's close. And verily the punishment of Allah on the fusaq, on the fujjar, on the kuffar, it's very close. Even if they don't realize it. And the nusra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the believers, it's close. Even if we don't realize it. Tayyib. So here, a is istifham, we'll leave that. Laysa, from the ikhwat of kana, laysa. What's the Arab of subh here?
Ism kana.
Ism laysa. Which is from the ikhwat, so that's fine. Which is your mubtada. And your khabar, there's the jar, majroor, that's why it's majroor, but this is your khabar here. Tayyib? And even though this is a question, in reality it's telling you something. Right? So many times you will find in the Qur'an there is a question, but in reality it's trying to get you to understand something. And I like this a lot again because we find two of the examples out of the two opposite ends, from the ikhwat of kana laysa and from inna itself, from its ikhwat. Tayyib. So this is our lesson for the day, inshallah ta'ala.
إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله